It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott's here, Mary Jo Foley's here, and Paul's been running the new leaked version of Windows 11, or was it leaked? We'll get a look at rounded corners and a lot more. The latest from E3. Microsoft's got a really big strategy for Xbox. And Mary Jo Foley will take a nap while we talk about the Xbox. No, she has lots of other stuff to talk about, including debunking that rumor that Windows 10 would be the last version of Windows. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust. This is Twit.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Episode 729, recorded Wednesday, June 16th, 2021. Jerry said it. Windows Weekly is supported by AT&T Active Armor. We rely so much on our phones these days and are always on them, whether it's live streaming content, catching up with family on weekly video calls, or watching your favorite podcast. There's no room for fraud calls. Thankfully, AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7 proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats at no extra charge. Compatible device and service required. Visit att.com/activearmor for details. And by Udacity. Gain in-demand tech skills in as little as 3 months with Udacity's part-time online tech courses. Visit udacity.com/twit and get 75% off any program with the code TWIT75. Offer ends June 30th, 2021. And by Bandwidth. Bandwidth understands the challenge enterprises face when migrating to direct routing for Microsoft Teams. That's why Bandwidth launched Duet for Microsoft Teams, the only complete solution for direct routing and Microsoft-certified E911, available direct from a carrier, and designed to simplify your Teams migration. Request your proof of concept at bandwidth.com/WW. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show we cover the latest news about Windows 11 with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley. Paul Thurrott from Thurrott.com, Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com. Mary Jo and I had a little bet. We didn't, but we might as well have, that Paul by now would be using Windows 11.
Yeah.
Were we right?
Paul is right now using Windows 11.
Oh, you're a madman.
He is a madman.
Like on the machine that we're talking to you on? What are you, nuts?
All your files were right where you left them, I guess.
Apparently.
Well, yeah, most of them were. Yeah.
So, this was what? This is not a release version. This is a leak, right?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we need to talk about this. Let's talk about Xbox.
Okay, Xbox is so much more. E3 was this weekend. Nobody cares about Windows 11. We should say, just right off the top, a little program note. Next week, of course, we will be covering the Microsoft Windows 11 announcement, which now is going to be completely anticlimactic, but okay.
Maybe.
Maybe
Well,
not.
actually, we'll talk about that. See, I think there's more to come.
Okay.
Me too. Same.
So in order to do that, we're going to move Windows Weekly from Wednesday, its normal day, to Thursday, right after the announcement. So what time is the announcement?
It's 11 a.m. Get it? Oh. Eastern time.
Oh, it's 11 a.m. on the, is it the 11th? No. Oh, well.
No.
Couldn't have everything be perfect. 11 a.m. That means 8 a.m. Pacific. So 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 1500 UTC. We'll be doing the live stream, and you guys will join me, which is nice.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Paul Thurrott, first of all, what is the provenance of this so-called Windows 11 that you seem to be running?
Wow. Well, it was leaked yesterday. And I realize that's a rather passive way of saying it.
Mistakes were made.
Presumably.
Somebody at Microsoft.
Well, who knows?
Maybe it was intentional.
The thing is, people, actually, I'll address the last point in this part of the notes first, which is about the conspiracy theory thing. I've heard from a kind of astonishing number of people who feel that this is literally Microsoft level setting expectations by leaking it on purpose. Some people have even said literally they handed it to me and to other people like me with a little, don't tell anybody.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That makes sense, actually.
And that's why people believe conspiracy theories, because they do make sense in many cases. This one, that didn't happen. And I don't think that that's how it happened. Obviously,
no, me neither.
It could have come from a Microsoft employee. It's far more likely it came from some kind of a partner or a customer who
an OEM
also had early access
who's
to
building
it.
its new machines.
And an individual working for a company, who just posted it up on some public thing. So I just to address that, just to be clear, Microsoft did not orchestrate this, to my knowledge. I mean, in other words, they never approached me.
Did you see the opposite conspiracy theory, which was you guys think this is real, but it's not, because Microsoft put a fake leak out there to throw you all off the trail.
So for whatever that's worth, I considered that. And
you did?
We're not going to be in an audience, so I can't stand up and applaud them. I would do that if that happened.
I know, right?
This is too elaborate for that.
It is.
Well, it's a complete version of Windows, right?
Yeah, it's literally right. So
I know.
This is a lot of work to go to. Changing the Windows shell is not an arbitrary thing you do. Hey, Bob, I'll meet you later at lunch. I'm just going to finish up the new shell. It doesn't work that way, right? This is a little more complicated than that.
No, you know why they thought that, though? I said this on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, everybody still has PTSD from Windows 8.
Yeah, right.
People, if this was Windows 8, that could have been a plausible idea that somebody, meaning the leadership in charge at the time, leaked it.
It's something
wait a minute, what do you
would've-
mean? What is the PTSD?
Well, in other words,
PTSD? What is the problem?
To understand what she's saying, Steve Vasanovsky was very secretive, right? And he did an about face with the previous regime, Jim Allchin, where, remember, they were all out and open and everything, they were telling everyone what they were going to do. And it kind of blew up on their face with Longhorn. It was delayed for several years, and then they ended up with Windows Vista. And seeing that, Sinofsky said, well, we're doing the opposite. There's always like this overreaction. And they deliberately tried to mislead us at that time before we saw the Windows 8 UI, but they never released a fake thing. That's an enormous engineering effort. I mean, it's implausible. I'll say that the little asterisk at the end of this is, it is far more likely and probable that there's more going on than we see here, because the way they build Windows is any build from any place in Microsoft could have just a part of what we're going to see eventually. So it's more likely that this is an incomplete look. And we already know, for example, there's going to be a new app store. The app store that's in here is exactly the same app store. There's going to be a new settings app. The settings app that's in here is exactly the same. A lot of the built-in apps are going to be updated and overhauled, and the built-in apps are all exactly the same. So this is a new shell, basically, is what we're seeing here. A new UX, however you want to say it. And it's too complicated to create this thing, because it would so easily be seen as a fake if it wasn't, in fact, actually Windows. It's working. You can upgrade from Windows 10 to this. You can install it clean in a virtual machine or on hardware. It's Windows. This is real. Will it be a little different maybe by the time it ships to the public? Maybe.
Hopefully.
Well, we'll talk about that. I mean, the conspiracy theory thing to me is.
I know. It was getting a little
alarming,
out of hand.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
it was.
yeah. Well, it's expected. The degree to, I just had people say, I know that Microsoft. It's like you know.
I know.
How do you know?
So honestly, it doesn't make any difference unless
It doesn't.
they release. By the way, I'm doing my Larry King impression now. I hope you.
I
like
was
it.
literally just going to say that. Next up,
Yeah, Boston. It's hot. It's hot, and I've stripped down to suspenders.
by the end of the show, you'll just have
I'll
the
be
suspenders
naked.
on.
Yeah, I look like a Chippendale dancer. Unless it's and this is completely not credible. It's some sort of red herring to lead you off the scent. That would make no sense.
By
Nobody's
the way,
going to spend time to make that.
Okay, you know what though? I just remembered something, and Mary Jo will remember this as I say it. Microsoft did do that one time. They did it with Windows XP.
They released a
they didn't
phony
do it.
version?
Yeah, they did. It had a Whistler UI that was a modified version of the Windows 2000 UI.
That's weird.
Which some people still love. and wanted it to be the UI. And then in February of whatever the year, it must have been 2001, they revealed the actual UI, which they had been working on in secret. So a lot of people thought originally that Windows XP was going to have this Whistler UI, as they called it. And Watercolor was the name. Whistler was the code name for Windows XP. The UI was called Watercolor. And it was just basically a slightly modified version of the Windows 2000.
So it's happened, but it seems not credible.
No.
I don't look. I think there's more coming. I
do too.
And the degree to which there is more will help us form our opinion a little more fully next week. But
it's not.
Isn't
I don't.
this-
think
I don't
it's
think
worth
this is
spending
fake.
time
I don't
on.
think it's fake. I don't think it's
No,
fake.
isn't this bill dated May 30th? So it's fairly recent, right? But not.
Tell
I've had
us
people say
about
May
it.
30th,
Honestly,
and-
so one thing that we now know it is Windows 11, right?
Okay, but maybe that's a red herring too, right? I mean, it does say Windows 11 everywhere. Yes.
Okay.
It does.
Setup says
It does.
Windows 11. The EULA says Windows 11.
All right.
WinVerse
It's Windows
says
11.
Windows 11.
I think we've seen
Yeah.
enough teases that we know it's Windows 11. So
I do
that's
too.
that's flattened.
Yeah.
It seems. But who knows? Again, who knows?
Is it just a UI shift? Is it just that?
There's
Yes.
a couple of those tiny things, aren't there? Like
That
very minor.
not that I have experienced directly. I mean, from what I can tell, and I haven't dived into it in any technical way, like maybe Raphael or Walking Cat might do, but it is, it's a UI refresh for sure. It's Windows 10 for sure too, right? And that's a goofy thing to say. It's like, Windows XP was Windows 2000, right? It's like the next version of Windows 2000. Windows 7 was Windows Vista, really. I mean, you kind of lose track of what's what here, but it's so clearly Windows 10. Like, it's Windows 10. I mean, and of course it is, right? It's not like I said this, I don't remember where I said or wrote this, maybe on Twitter. It's not like someone fired up Visual Studio, start new project, x64, ARM64, native, I'll call it Windows 11, and started writing code. I mean, it's a continuation of the thing we had before.
As it almost always is.
Of course.
Right?
I mean, it has to
Right.
be. It has to be, right? It has to be.
I think
Even
so
Windows-
many people were all getting overly hyped and expecting more. Even when we kept saying it's going to be basically lipstick on a pig, right? Like people are like, no, you guys are underplaying it, right? Like it's going to be this massive change underneath. Everything's going to be
Well, yeah.
different.
I
And I'm
mean-
like,
Well, I was
"Oh,
hoping for that, but you convinced me last week that
Yeah.
was not to be hoped
Yeah.
for.
Part
and
of
now
the
you were
agreement
right.
we made with Microsoft is we would overhype it and then underhype it, and then keep
Right.
people guessing. It's just
I know. It's good we're on their payroll. It's very good to
it's
be on.
the cabal that we are part of.
They're joking.
We are
They're
obviously.
joking. No, yeah, you say obviously.
I know.
At least
Okay.
one person heard you say that.
Yeah, so 10 years from now, someone's going to be I'm sure I heard you say on a
They said they're on
podcast
the
you were in a
payroll. They
cabal with
admitted it.
Microsoft.
Just
I
like
know.
we've been saying for a long time, this is Windows 10 was the last version of Windows. Big
I
scoop
know.
from Mary Jo Foley. Nobody said that. Jerry said it.
Jerry.
Jerry
Poor
said
Jerry.
it. Jerry Nixon. It
You know what
was
they should
Jerry-
do?
A guy named Jerry is like the conclusion of a Stephen Wright joke.
Jerry said it.
It's
No, you
like
know
I
what?
found out that the guy who built the pyramids was a guy named Jerry.
No, they're going to get Jerry
like-
Nixon. Jerry Nixon will start off the launch next week. He'll come out on the stage and he'll be like, guys, I'm sorry.
No, he should come out and say, guys, Windows 11 is going to be the last version of Windows.
They should. It would be funny. It would be funny.
That's what he should say.
Well, and by the way, I looked at his quote, and he may have meant the latest. Sometimes people, that is one use of the word last. The latest version, not the last
Oh, yeah,
ever.
yeah. Oh,
he
interesting.
wasn't
Okay.
that explicit. He didn't say, there's never going to be another version of Windows. He simply said, the last version of Windows, Windows 10.
What
we're
was the
working on it."
context for this comment, by the way? When did this
It was
come
some
up?
Ignite session he was speaking in.
So this was just a guy speaking off the cuff in front of people.
Right.
And he may well have meant the latest, which
Yeah.
is a completely common usage of the word last.
I will say this, 640K is enough RAM for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know why we argue about that.
It was a great point Mary Jo made, and it's interesting because it swept the world.
Yeah.
People said, "Oh, we all thought it was going to be the last," but Microsoft never said that. Just some guy named Jerry.
No, and then on
Well, it's
Twitter,
fair to say.
No, then on Twitter, a few people chimed in who worked at Microsoft during the time, and they said, okay, maybe we never said it on the record officially, but inside Microsoft, that was how we treated it, the last version of Windows.
Sure.
So they acted like that's how it was, right? Like,
I think, well, of course, but you got to remember that I call them regimes. I wish there was a better word for this, but I mean, at the time, it was Terry Myerson and his crew calling the shots for Windows, and to them, maybe they thought that was true. And by the way, one of the things I talked about,
they also thought they'd never leave Microsoft. So there you go.
Well, when Terry was kind of forced out of the company, one of the things I kind of talked about at that time was, Terry was given a terrible job, right, by Satya Nadella. He said, you can run Windows, but you got to make it work within this whole other thing we're doing around cloud and servicing and all this stuff. And it just was never going to work properly. I mean, it was just it was a tough job. So, the subsequent, regardless of whether Terry's there or whoever's there now, we have been dealing with Windows 10 for a long time. 6 years this next month, right? That is almost unprecedented. I say almost because Windows XP was in market from 2001 till actually. It is unprecedented. It wasn't as long. Windows XP was around for so long, it felt like a lifetime. But actually, Windows Vista, was it 2000? I think it was the end of 2005. No, 2006 it must have been. So 5 years. So Windows 10 has actually been in market longer than Windows XP was. And like Windows XP, it was updated over time, right? We had SP2, we had Tablet PC Edition, at least 2 versions of that. We had at least 2 versions of Windows Media Center Edition. I mean, there was still churn, but we stuck with it was Windows XP.
Yep. I think during the event, my prediction is they're not even going to address this. Is it the last version of Windows? They're just
they should address it. They should do it. They should do it in a fun way.
They should be funny, but I doubt they will be funny.
It's the next version of Windows.
They should bring up a clip of Jerry and be like, "Remember this guy? Yeah, we fired him this morning." And
Jerry's still there.
Just kidding, and then
Jerry's still there, as far as we know.
Yeah.
In Denver.
No, of course
he is. I looked at his Twitter
as a joke,
just to see if he had anything to say. He didn't. So, tell it. Come on, really, all we care about is tell us what is. It's a new look. Is it nice? Somebody said it looks a little like a Mac.
To me,
Chrome.
It looks like Chrome OS is what it looks like, right?
That's what I think.
And maybe more to the point, it looks like Windows 10X, right? This is the Windows 10X UI brought over to big Windows, for lack of a better term. Of course, because it is big Windows, it's better than Windows 10X was. It also looks better just running on real hardware. Like, Windows 10X, we were running in a virtual machine, and they look kind of flat and plain. If you think back to like the Aero days when it was like Aero Basic was really terrible looking and flat, and then they had Aero Glass and it was kind of awesome. I mean, this is kind of like that. This is like the glass version. It's got some translucency going on and is better looking. This is going to be controversial for people. There's no doubt about it. There are people who are going to complain about the simplicity of it, the kind of dumbing down of the UI. There are going to be people who claim or complain about muscle memory issues where all Windows versions since Windows 95 have had a start button over in the lower left corner, and then the icons kind of come out from there. Now it's centered, so as you run and close apps, the positions are going to change a little bit.
But you can move it over to the left. You can
move it over to the left. That's true. But you move all of it. Like I'd actually like to see the start button stay over on the left and have the icons be in the middle. But let me just make one point about the centered thing. People have theorized about widescreen displays and like why might they do this, et cetera, et cetera. This is the way the Mac has worked since 2001, right? When Apple introduced the dock with Mac OS 10, the first version,
in the middle.
It was in the middle. It's been there ever since. And hundreds of millions of people use that system every single day, and it seems to work okay. So I just throw that out there. I know people are freaking, but like someone, Mary Jo, I think said, yes, you can. There is an option in there if you want it over on the side.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so this is just it's more modern. It's modern design, which
it is literally whether you're talking about setting it up or using it. It is Windows 10.
So that just begs the question, because Mary Jo was kind of thinking maybe it'd be more of a consumer targeted Windows versus that Windows 10 would continue as a business, but it sounds like maybe this is just the next version of Windows.
Well, no. I don't think that changes anything that she said, to be honest. The way that this thing will be delivered or not delivered, we still don't know. And it's very possible. By the way, there's a registry. There's some registry entries you can screw around with that will just make it go back to Windows 10. So that tells me there's a switch that you can enable or disable where you have new UI, old UI. And her idea that businesses will be able to move forward for some amount of time on Windows 10, I think is still very valid.
I do too, because I think this is the next Windows, but I think they learned their lesson, I hope, from Windows 8. And it's not just going to be like, and now we're doing this. It's going to be like, and we're going to give you a run up to this, right? Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fair to say that any consumer PC that's, assuming this comes out at the end of this year, which I guess it will be, any consumer PC sold this holiday season will probably come with this thing on it, right? And there won't be a choice. You're not going to get like a little dialogue. Do you want the old one or the new one? I mean, I think this is, going to be the mainstream thing going forward. But I mean, one of the many lessons of Windows 10 was that businesses reacted very violently to a lot of the support upgrade ideas that Microsoft had. And this might be the final big concession. Okay, you can stick with the thing.
I like that idea. Just leave a switch in there that says, because UI, who cares?
And by the way, that too is a Microsoft tradition that we kind of lost track of. And I'm not going to remember the exact version, but if you think about Microsoft evolved the start menu, and Windows XP was the first big change to the start menu. But Windows XP had an option that let you go back to the traditional Windows 2000 style start menu, right? And I don't remember when that stopped being the case. Probably Windows 8, frankly, but I don't remember. Them offering you to go back to the old UI or switch back to the old UI, even if it's only for businesses, I think is in keeping with that tradition. And for a kind of a customer-centric company like Microsoft is maybe the right way to go.
Smart. Very smart. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to tell you the thing I've seen. I've been watching everybody running. I'm not running this build because I'm not a maniac.
You're normal.
But,
You're not a psychotic person.
You guys are all going to laugh when I tell you, Paul probably already knows what I'm going to say here. The feature that got me the most excited yesterday was the new Snap.
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually know, you happened to mention that to me separately, so I do know that.
Right. So if you hover over the maximize button, instead of having some weird esoteric thing, you have these different grid layouts of how you want to snap the windows. And I'm like, finally, I'm going to be able to use Snap.
This is Snap is one of several features in Windows, and this is not unique to Windows. I think there's stuff like this in the Mac, iOS, whatever, but that are just kind of not discoverable, right? Snap is a way to organize windows on screen, and I think a lot of people kind of understand you have two things side by side, but there are other configurations. You could have 4 windows or whatever. It's something. It's possible by hitting certain keys on the keyboard you would snap and not know how you did it, and then you're like, well, I might want to do this again. How do I?
Yep.
So this is like it's a little it's like a drop down. Window or whatever, but it
like
shows you
almost,
that you can do it. Yeah. And I like that because it makes Snap discoverable. It doesn't help you learn that there's a keyboard shortcut, but
no, I had no idea there was one. And so when I posted yesterday, I'm like, I love the new Snap. I hope this stays the way it is. There were two different responses I got on Twitter. One was, what is Snap? I know.
The other one is like, what are you talking about? This has been here since Windows 8.
No, and everyone else was like, you're more stupid than a toddler. Well, that was actually one of them.
Oh, my God.
You can't.
What?
And of course, immediately
Twitter.
I muted that person. And I said, toddlers
Twitter.
Unite. Goodbye. And then, but I'm like, so I've always found it very difficult to get Snap to work on the first try. And so I just stopped using it. I'm just like, I don't.
And by the way, if I could defend you for a second, Microsoft's research or user research has shown that most Windows users don't even know Alt-Tab exists. Alt-Tab has existed probably in Windows 2.0 or what, I don't remember when it debuted exactly. But Snap is a relatively new development. It only really became what it is now in like Windows 8.1 probably. I don't remember exactly, but it wasn't 8.0 because remember 8.0 with Snap was like a little tiny column.
That was impossible. I could never ever snap on Windows 8.
So let me throw it. Here's a conspiracy theory for you, or at least a theory. I saw that if you look at it, let me look at it now just so I can say it. when I look at those little thumbnails of the different configurations, I see 2 screens. You know, like what if? Right? I mean, what if part of the point of this is because you can do it on a single screen. Of course, you can. You can have 2 windows. You can have 3 windows, 1 big and 2 small. You can have 4.
Yeah.
What if this is about dual screens?
That's good.
Partially.
That's good.
Right?
That's good.
That's just a thought.
I like it.
You know?
Yep.
That
like your thought.
wouldn't be newsworthy if Panos Panay
So that
talks
might
about
be a
Windows 11 and
surprise.
says, the best experience of Windows 11 might be on something like this.
The Surface Neo, which now is going to run our full version of Windows.
Oh, I would run out and buy it. I would, Panos, take my money.
We get in our notes. Hold on.
Just
We get in
idea.
our notes.
Just an
Crazy predictions for this event.
That's
that
a
was going to
crazy
be
one.
mine.
Yeah.
That was going to be mine.
Oh,
that he
sorry.
does the one more thing and shows up the Neo. You know why? Because they need something super exciting at this event since most of this is leaked already. And what would be more exciting?
I also think they need
this doesn't exist yet, but it's coming soon. Blah, blah.
They need a little bit of a perception win, too. I think, Surface Duo hasn't gone over very well. They killed Windows 10X. What about Neo? It's kind of up in the air. And it's like, no, we're still doing Surface Neo. And I think that would excite people, even though I really don't think it's going to sell particularly well. But I think it's I agree. I think it's something they could and should do.
I do, too.
At this event.
I don't think it's ready at this point because it hasn't gone through like all the FCC testing. Nobody's seen it show up there.
Yeah, but it could be like a holiday 2021 thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it sails through the FCC right after the event,
I think they should do that. Just a quick, here it is. They should.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, we understood how this might have worked with Windows 10X. I mean, this is the big thing and it's, you look at this and it looks like Windows 10X, of course. So naturally you're thinking, or I should say naturally when we saw Windows 10X, I was thinking, well, what about big Windows? Could we do this on big Windows? Of course we could. And of course, could the architectural stuff come to big Windows, the containers and all that. But as far as the UX, it's like, well, we already knew that there were going to be, like Lenovo announced this, they were going to be folding, and it's out, the ThinkPad Fold. It was going to run 10X or your choice of Windows 10, right? That was going to be the choice. In the future, it will be like Windows 11. Oh, it'll just be Windows 11, actually. So you won't need a choice. I mean, you're getting all the UI stuff you might have been interested in from Windows 10X, but now it's got the full compatibility of Windows.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. That would be great. But then now we're ramping expectations up again.
I know. So everyone,
That's what we do.
just
We're
guessing.
trying to keep you on edge, Little positive, little negative. Where are we going to land next? You don't know.
So I'm not going to get my hopes up, but that would be
I'm not
nice,
either.
That would
I'm
be
not either,
such a
but-
nice one more thing.
I feel
would.
pretty good about it. I think
do?
it's,
We would know if they'd been making it, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
I feel
it's
pretty good
definitely
about
not
it
ready.
happening.
It's not ready.
So they would say this fall, maybe, right?
I think so.
No,
holiday season.
I think we would have seen some more
think
leaks
so,
about this
too.
if it was ready.
Yeah,
if
I
it was
think
All right.
close.
Well, look, the timing of it doesn't matter. I'm just saying. I think
yeah. I think
them
they
making
should
that
show
one more thing, like you said, I think that makes tons of
Did they
sense.
ever officially
Yeah.
cancel Neo?
No.
They never said officially we're not doing it.
Nope.
They
No,
showed
they
it.
never did.
They talked
They never
about
said
it.
They just said we're tabling it for now. And my last leak I had on it was supposed to be out next year now.
That's fine. I mean, look, it could come out in 2022. I think ending that event on that note would be that would be smart. And look, I don't mean this in kind of a dickish way, but I mean, look, there's a lot of Apple copying going on here, right? So for them to pull an Apple at the end and be like, oh, look, we got this hardware that's going to run this thing and it's going to be unique. It's going to be 2 screens. Yeah. Regardless of whether this thing is viable as a product, I think that would excite the types of people who are interested in this announcement. So
I know. The only
be a
bad
smart
part
thing to
about there is a downside to them doing this. If they do that, every single story that comes out will be about the Neo, and Windows 11 will get a really short shrift because of that, right? Like everybody will lead the stories with Neo, and then
That's a good
and then they
point.
also had this operating system that they showed too.
No, I think Windows 11 is a big deal. I think that's.
Yeah.
I mean, this only happens, once every 5 years or so. I mean, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
like,
feel like,
off the-
the press is so fickle.
Oh,
so
the people are fickle too. I mean,
Everyone's fickle. I mean,
The
my God,
negative is that if you only announce Windows 11, that is kind of just like ho-hum because it's just a new UI.
I know.
Well,
They may be more excited about it than you and I are, but
True.
What's the worst case scenario here? That this is Windows 11. This is all they're doing. I mean, there'll be app updates and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I still think this is fine as a Windows 11. We're overdue for a visual refresh. I think we needed that little, shot in the arm, and that's fine.
But
I
what
think
if
there's
none
gonna
of the
be more.
apps get updated? Like, what if it's
Then that is
only what you see here?
No, that's completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable.
Right.
Because regardless of the UX, a lot of those apps, Mail is the big one, have needed to be updated for years. Years.
And that's not in the
and have
leaked
never
build.
happened in any meaningful way. Yep.
I know. My worst case. No, you know what my worst case scenario is? The store doesn't get updated, right? And
Yeah.
right, because it's not
I-
updated in this build, and it can get updated independently because it's a separate app. But maybe they'll say we're going to update the store later and not actually show that, or maybe we'll show a concept or something. I don't know.
Right.
they did say the store is going to be greatly updated, right? That's a whole new thing, right?
They hinted that when Satya Nadella said, the commercialization options, blah, blah, blah. So that implies the store is going to get
looks
fixed.
so much like a Mac. Wow.
I will. Yeah. So, I mean, the wallpaper it's kind of a goofy thing to focus on, but they're very Mac-like and kind of modern, and they look nice. And I think that helps, the look.
Yeah.
Microsoft is doing some nice auto theming stuff. If you let it, where it adjusts the colors of the UI to match the background and all that stuff, which I think is cool.
Yeah, that's Android 12's doing that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I like it, but then again, you got to remember. Well, you don't have to remember this, but we all do things differently, and we all obviously have different needs and wants and all that stuff. But I pin the apps I use the most often to the taskbar, like a Mac user would in the dock. I don't use the start menu all that much, so I do like the way it looks. But this organization doesn't matter to me. I don't care what's there. I'm never going to use any of that. And day to day for me, this is almost identical to using Windows 10, except it's prettier and the icons in the taskbar are centered.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Panos is talented. He can make something out of this.
Yeah.
Get a good hour out of this.
Oh, he'll get an hour easily out of it. There'll be stories. There'll be lore.
Yeah.
There'll be,
lore. He'll show his kids using it.
Exactly. We already know. We could write the script for him.
Can I just say that it always bugs me that the recycle bin is in the upper left-hand corner.
Me too. Why is that?
So
is
dopey.
that just like a thing?
I actually, this is another one of those things. People would either celebrate this or reject it entirely. That thing needs to be in the taskbar. Should not be on the desktop.
Sure, right?
The problem with the desktop is it gets covered by Windows. So, and
I agree.
It just, I know. Look, it's the way that Apple does it with the Mac, right?
It's in the
what do
dock.
they call it? The trash can or whatever.
Yeah, it
It's in the
used
dock.
to on the old Mac. It was in the lower right-hand corner, which is, I think, why Microsoft puts it in the upper left-hand corner, just so not to be confused with the with Apple trash can. But it does belong somewhere. And Linux, by the way, if it puts it anywhere. Actually, Linux is very configurable, so you can put it anywhere. But a lot of distros put it either in the menu or the dock.
Yeah, I'd like to see it in the.
Because that's if you're going to access it, I usually just turn it off.
I know. I was just going to say, why do you even need it? anymore?
I always throw it away. I put the trash in the trash.
Yeah, you don't need it there. You don't need it.
No, I don't want. Why would I want to go through my recycle bin? On the rare occasions that I do, I can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
It's, by the way, it's really excited. The recycle bin is no longer angled.
So that's true. If you scroll down to one of the windows that shows File Explorer, you're coming up.
I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know. That's Notepad.
Yeah, the next one.
Woo, Mary Jo. Notepad.
As long as it
Right, so
stays there, don't.
Those
make it go
icons are also not angled, right? So see how the drive icons have the same face forward view.
Whoa, sorry. I lost control. It's a Mac. What can I do?
So this is, this is the type of UI consistency Microsoft worked on with Windows 95, right? Because previous to that, icons and on-screen elements had different shadows and light sources and all that, and they tried to make it kind of consistent. Windows Vista, I remember, those glass icons were all angled, and I think the recycle bin that we have today is retains that angle and glassness. But now it's changing to be flat and face forward.
They still look like manila folders. I mean, they still have a little tab.
Yeah.
They're still, they're not getting that far away from the roots.
No.
Listen, we live in a world where people can complain about anything. I think it was it Firefox, the new UI in Firefox? The tabs are kind of rounded rectangles that kind of float next to each other. And someone said, those don't look like tabs. That's not what tabs look like. And it's like, well, that's what tabs look like in Firefox. They don't have to emulate something in the real world. Most people who use these things don't even know what that kind of a tab is.
No.
But here we are. Yeah, we're still using file folders. I mean,
that's all right. We still dial the phone. I mean, these things just are slow to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's skeuomorphism.
Well, you made a reference about cutting tape earlier.
Well, I was being facetious.
No, I know you were joking, but I mean, but people do say things like that. Let's go to the tape, Bob.
Let's go to the tape.
There's no tape.
Yeah.
Well, we can watch the video, but there's no tape.
Yeah. Pop in the VHS. Let's watch a Windows Weekly, huh? What? Anything else to say about it? This is not the final, obviously, the shipping version. It does sound like they have to do some more updates to apps.
I got some questions for Mary Jo, because Mary Jo...
About the timing, right?
No.
Oh.
No, it's about the look of it. So you don't typically care or maybe even see a lot of UI changes. What do you think of... Do you see... Do you look at this and think, wow, this is different in any way, or do you... Nothing?
Yeah. So I noticed that it's centered, right? Obviously.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I don't really notice much else about it.
Wow.
I mean, I see there are icons in a grid pattern, and I see that the docking bar at the bottom is now centered. And beyond that, I'm like, I don't care.
Actually, I think centered makes a lot of sense. It's
I do
closer
too.
to where
For
your
tablets.
mouse is. Yeah.
It's for tablets,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's
Having
what
to
I
move
thought.
the mouse all the way to the lower left corner.
Right.
Most of the time your mouse is kind of in the center. So it makes sense.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, though, there's some new cool wallpapers that are cute.
Love the wallpaper.
Because you know what, guys? I don't know if I'm unique in this, but I almost never look at my desktop. I'm looking at the app that I'm in. I'm not looking at the
This is
desktop
what Mary Jo
almost
Foley's
ever.
screen looks like.
That's exactly what my screen looks like. That is my screen.
We're showing
right
Notepad.
there.
That's it.
No, and there's usually a browser open behind Notepad with a zillion tabs open. That's my desktop.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my desktop. Right.
I do think this is it's fashion and style is very interesting. It's very trendy, and people it all moves as a school of fish kind of in concert. Material design, I think Google was really the first to say, let's go flat. Apple followed suit very quickly. And it makes it just makes sense. We no longer have to kind of pretend these are bulging folders and edit three-dimensional objects.
Well, rounded corners for some reason is a thing now. We see that in Android 12.
I got to talk about the rounded corners though on Windows.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
that's
think
not
they
what
look
I thought.
very good.
No, it's square. It's a square with the tiniest bit cut off on the corner so that they can say it's rounded. Is that what rounded corners
That
means?
is what rounded corners means. That's exactly what it means.
Really? I
There
thought it
are
was more
UI
rounded.
elements that have those. I don't know where it is, Leo, so I can't help you find it. But somewhere there's a screenshot of the Action Center, which is that bar over on the right.
Yeah, those
the
look
individual.
good. Those.
Yeah.
look
So
good.
if you open that, I don't know. The individual, there it is. Each of those UI elements, you can see every UI element there has rounded corners, right?
Oh,
to me, that
panels,
looks good.
The
that
buttons
looks good.
have rounded corners.
It doesn't look when you just show an app in the middle with the tiniest bit cut off on the corners, so you can say they're rounded. I don't know. Does that do anything for anybody? What does that do?
Honestly, what it does for me is I don't think it looks good. And it doesn't come through so well in the screenshots, but I'm looking at the bottom left corner of the OneNote window on my computer, and it's pixelated, right? So it's a kind of a dark gray color, but they're a light gray, or they almost look white little, I don't know.
Anti-aliasing. That's how you do it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it just looks.
Otherwise, it's jaggedy. Honestly, I think this is backwards movement. This is what Steve Jobs always insisted on. And I think you could stick with Square. Square makes sense.
I know.
Steve didn't want it because Square is the easy thing to do in computers. And so he wanted to show that there had been some care paid to the UI. Don't do the easy thing, do the pretty thing.
It's not enough to do bit-blit. It has to be like a complicated shape.
Yeah, when we have to have anti-aliasing and So I kind of with you, Paul. Just make it square.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that.
They could solve this problem by making this a configurable option, right?
Well, they're not going to do that. I mean, it's just.
I don't know. I don't know.
There's always Object Desktop. Stardock will come to the rescue.
Yeah, Stardock will come to the rescue. They will.
Where's OS2 when we need it? Is OS2 still
I know.
open? No.
No, I thought you were going to ask me, Paul, about the timing, because what I hear for the timing is this. So a lot of people think this is like something that's not near done at all. No, Windows 11 is done pretty much, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Yep.
It's Cobalt, right? The Cobalt branch, it's done, right? So it's going to be marked as completed, like maybe even this month or next month.
21H2 maybe?
No, so they're going to give this to OEMs, right?
New computers will have it for the fall.
Insiders, they're going to give it to, right, to test it. And then in the fall, I think like October timeframe, that's when the mainstream will have access to Windows 11, right? And you'll still have Windows 10, 21H2, because they can't get rid of that yet. That's not time yet for that.
Right.
And then they'll have Windows 11, and people will be able to start using it in the fall. But like this, people who think this is way in the future, no, it's like done. It's finished.
And maybe someone remembers better than me, but I know they showed off Surface Duo and Surface Neo in late 2019 before the pandemic.
Yep.
Did they show off the Windows 10X UI at that time? I don't remember. If they didn't, it's likely that we got developer builds at the beginning of 2020. And regardless of the exact timing, the point of all this is they have been testing this UI for years internally and a little bit externally, through the virtual machines and so forth.
Did anybody ever get 10X that wasn't leaked by accident?
Yeah, Microsoft gave out developer builds of it for virtual machine installs. Yeah.
Oh, they did. Okay. Yeah. So like you're saying, this 10X has been in.
It's not like they just came up with this last Wednesday. I mean, they've been working on this for years.
Right. Exactly. I know. So people who are stunned, like they're like, yeah, but how far away is this? I'm like, no, it's like now. It's ready. It's done. I got to say, look, I've had a tough couple of weeks at work because we've had this huge spam problem. We had like an electronic attack last week. It's been bad.
Nice.
Yesterday was a good day. Right. No, it really was for me. I mean, like being able to focus on something like this. And I almost don't, I have whatever opinions I have about how it looks or how good it looks or whatever. Yeah. But I'm kind of happy just to see them doing something because I feel like Windows has stagnated for too long. They've given it lip service, but they really haven't done anything meaningful with it since Windows 10, which was meaningful. I mean, honestly, fixing the problems of Windows 8 is meaningful. But then again, they started that work with 8.1, with 8.11. Windows 10 in many ways was the Windows 7 to Vista, as it was to Windows 8. I mean, it was just kind of the final step. This is just, I don't know how much this moves the needle, other than it being prettier, But I'm just excited to see them giving it attention. They're having an event. Yeah. People are excited. I mean,
sure.
There hasn't been. It's been, almost 7 years, since anyone's cared like this. It's neat.
Yeah. Fair. I'm glad you're happy. I'm very glad.
It only lasted a day, but it was fun. It was nice to feel happy.
You know what? It was a good day. It's good you have one.
Yeah.
That's how I feel when I've sailed my Viking longship down and I found a new biome. I had a
wind in your hair
wind in my hair.
Had a good day.
Had a good day.
Let's pillage this village, shall we?
That's what I have been doing. Village pillaging. It's my new thing.
They're not going to pillage themselves, Leo.
That's right. So, all right. I'm just thinking, it's really interesting. I think it's a reflection of how mainstreamed technology has become.
Yeah.
That at this point, really, a lot of what happens in computing is about fashion. You remember Mary Jo with padded shoulders? Everybody had big
yeah, I do.
square padded shoulders. And
I still have those shoulders.
yeah,
Oh, you mean
I
fake shoulders.
like that look, right? But after, some time, it went away. Pat Benatar stopped making hits, and it became rounded shoulders, right? In fact, I have more modern jackets that are completely unstructured, which honestly I don't like, but it's all fashion. And I think that's a reflection of the mainstreaming of technology, is that the fashion side is now more and more important, to be honest.
That's true. I also feel you got to remember too how much the world has moved on. I mean, in 1995 when Windows 95 happened, it was mainstream news. It was on the news. It was people lining up at midnight. You had people waiting in line to buy Windows. It's crazy, right? Now we've had the whole mobile revolution has happened. People spending their days in front of their phones. And we live in this kind of tech news cycle where we're always moving on to the next thing. So this is awesome for us and for people who care about Windows, but we need to sort of keep in the back of our mind that next Thursday is going to come. It's going to be very exciting, and it's going to go. And the Gizmodos and Gadgets and the Verges of the world are all going to move on to the next thing. Oppo will announce something, or Realme, or Facebook or whatever, and we're just going to get lost in that vortex. But for people who care about this stuff, again, I think it's super important that Microsoft's paying attention to this. And I don't think it's going to last. Not to be a jerk about it, but I mean, I think they're going to lose their attention span as well. But I'd like to see it happening.
What will be good is if what happens, which is what we think is going to happen, they start dumping this out into the insider channel and letting insiders test it. That'll keep it in the news a bit too, right? Instead of just being
especially if
you got to wait till
as new things happen. They might announce features. I do think there's going to be stuff. We should talk about that a little bit. I think there's going to be some stuff we don't know about or haven't seen yet that will be announced. And then you're right. Like over time, even the first insider build hopefully will have a little bit more than what we see here. And then over the course of the summer, they'll add stuff in, and we'll see how it evolves.
Okay.
I'm excited. I'm excited
too.
about it.
We don't get this very often. This is exciting.
We don't. I know. I feel like my interest in Windows has kind of waned, even though I cover Microsoft. Like I'm like, oh well, at least I get to cover Azure because nothing's going on in Windows.
Having no interest in covering Azure, you can see the problem from my perspective.
I know.
All right, let's.
So before when we were doing the notes this morning, Paul goes, "Well, obviously we know what the top story is going to be. It's going to be Biz Talk, right?" I'm like, obviously.
And she's like, finally. And then I was like, do they actually still make Biz Talk? I don't even know.
Yes.
We all know it's going to be Mary Jo Foley's world. Soon. We're just living in it right now.
Exactly.
That's all there is to it. Our show today brought to you by AT&T, something they call Active Armor, something you want. We rely so much on our phones these days, and let's face it, we're always on them. Whether you're streaming live content or catching up with the family on weekly video calls, I just did that this morning, or watching your favorite podcast. But the last thing you want is a fraud call coming through in the middle of your show. I'm sorry, my auto warranty is not running out, and I do not want that call. It's gotten so bad sometimes I just don't even want to answer the phone anymore. Well, thankfully, AT&T makes customer security a priority, helping block those pesky calls. It's not complicated. AT&T Active Armor, 24/7 proactive network security and fraud call blocking to help stop threats. And here's the best part, at no extra charge. Of course, compatible service and device are required. Visit att.com/Active Armor for details. Thank you, AT&T, for supporting Windows Weekly. Anything more to say about this fascinating subject of ours, or shall we move on?
Do we have any expectations about other things they might announce that we aren't seeing here?
Is it possible? I mean, it's not just a Windows 11 event. I mean, I'd love to see.
Well, in other words, so for example, we have the Windows 10X user interface. Does Microsoft have any reason to discuss
the new store? What about the new store? Isn't that a big part of the story?
The new store, the new settings app.
I think they'll say something about the store. I do.
Oh, God, I think they'll go on and on about the store.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how close it is to being done, right? Because it's not in this build. So
what's
but that doesn't mean. But again, that doesn't mean anything.
I know
right?
it doesn't mean anything. You're right.
And it's in some different build lab, or
like
whatever.
a feature. Yeah, we didn't really get into this, but a lot of these features could be delivered and updated really fast through the feature experience pack. Like that's a possibility and a rumor,
Or even
right?
through the store,
So,
like for the apps, right?
I know.
mean,
yeah. That's why even though you
that's how
don't see
stores
all the
update.
apps, yeah, like even though you don't see the apps updated in this build, like there's nothing that says they couldn't update them independently through feature experience, a pack, a store, however, right? So I don't know how much they'll show of apps that are part of it. But, Panos hashtagged this Microsoft event, not Windows event. So, that opens possibility. They could talk about Xbox. They could talk about, Teams. They could talk about, because we heard they're going to talk about community in some way, right? And so how are they going to introduce that into this 1 hour, I believe, 1 hour presentation? So
we should mention the start button. Start button is not the Windows flag; it's the Microsoft logo.
Right.
I realize the distinction is subtle. They're both.
They're both
gridded
four
squares.
rectangles together, right?
I gotta look at that.
It's a different shade of blue. I saw people saying, I'm like, who would notice?
I've been Pantone color checking it, and
I know, right?
Well, and does that shade change? Probably that does not change because that's the corporate color. But some stuff does change with the wallpaper. Like this looks so nicely coordinated with the blue wallpaper. But right. But so that's just it's this. What is that? The 4 squares, the quadrant.
Well, it's the Microsoft logo. So we saw that
It's
they don't
the
have
flag.
retail stores.
Right.
We saw them at the store. We the back of a Surface device now has that.
Oh, that's
logo,
right.
Remember?
Yep.
Yeah.
He used
All
to
right,
say
I'm going to
Surface.
throw you a crazy curveball.
Okay.
Dual screen, right? We know the Duo 2 is coming. What if they said, this is so good, we're not going to put Android on the next Duo?
Oh
Okay.
boy.
You know what? I had that fleeting thought because Android 11 is still not on the first Duo. And what if they said, you know what? Forget about Android 11. Let's put Windows 11 on it.
Oh.
I think it would be corporate suicide for them to do that, but
It doesn't make any sense.
it makes zero sense. I know.
Yeah.
Neo, though, I would love to see them just flash it, just show it real fast. Like, and we're going to talk more about this later
By the
this
way,
year. Blah.
I guess you could. I mean, I wonder if there isn't some kind of UI synergy. Sorry for that word. That could be struck between this new UX and the Microsoft Launcher UX that you see on Duo and other. And
Yes,
just,
totally
available. And
I think they look
it
a lot
wouldn't matter.
alike, don't they? No.
Well, I mean, they're different device types, so of course there are interactions on phones you don't really see here. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. They could share a visual similarity, and it might.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
No, like
useful
the
or not, I mean,
idea
but-
of having all your recently opened documents and things you might want to touch right away in the launcher,
Like front and center,
And you're gonna
yeah.
you're gonna have this on Windows 11 too, right? In that recommended area, like that's where your documents are going to show up, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yep. No, it is. That's true.
So yeah. Yeah, I know, Leo. You and I thought alike because that fleeting thought went through my head yesterday. I'm like,
Listen.
man, what if they did?
You got to be careful with this kind of thing. There is a little contingent of people out there that are
No,
silently
I know.
waiting for Windows
They
Mobile
are.
to return somehow. And
I know, and we shouldn't encourage this. We
I
should,
just don't.
I know.
I just don't see that happening.
I agree.
Why not?
I agree.
Apps.
Because, there's no apps.
They're
And
so
the
stung by that.
There's an expectation of what you can do with a phone,
Yeah.
and
There
that
is.
is not
Just
met
can't
by
do it.
Windows.
That's really what killed
No.
it in the first place, isn't
I
it?
know, right? And it's iOS or Android. Like people are like, no, there's still room for a third. Is there though? No, there isn't.
No, there isn't.
Really
There isn't.
room for a third.
There isn't. And it's not because your idea is bad or the things you want are stupid. It's because you can't. There's a whole world of developers out there that are not going to tailor their apps to this other system. We've already proven this. It's not happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So we're not thinking that's really going to happen. It was just a crazy, quick, fleeting thought.
And I had to go and say it.
I know. It's so funny you thought it because yesterday when I was thinking, why isn't Android 11 on the Duo yet? Then I'm like, wait, what if?
Yeah.
see, you should have installed the build, and then your mind never would have went there.
But
That's
wait
true.
a minute, though.
That's true.
Can't you? I mean, you can use your phone to put Android apps on your Windows machine. I wonder
You can. Right. And there's the rumor that Android apps are going to be available at some point in the new Microsoft Store, right? Like that's
Did they kill?
that's how
They
they're
killed
gonna
the
go
Android
after
bridge, though, or did they not?
They did.
They did, but there's work in WSL to bring that kind of compatibility back to Windows in a different way.
Because
okay, so God, see, what are you doing to me? All right, I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. Here, I will offer up this bit of supporting evidence. I will just say this, and I'll hate myself for it later. Chrome OS does this with Android, right? And even though this strategy has not super taken off or succeeded, you could buy a Chromebook, a Chrome OS tablet or 2-in-1 that runs all the web stuff, but it also runs Android apps. And they don't exist, but I suppose there's no reason why you couldn't build a phone form factor that also did the same thing, and that maybe Microsoft could do something similar. And now that I've said that, do not write me an email telling me why you support this. I don't care. I don't want to hear about it.
Hate yourself.
I don't want to talk about this. I think it's dumb. I don't think it's the right approach, but technically, I guess it could happen.
So I meant to ask you this and I forgot. Is there anything new in WSL in the leaked build or no?
I haven't even looked at that, so I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay.
In fact, let me
get on it, man. Come on.
I'm gonna say basically the under the hood is the same, right?
I think it's the same.
So
right now.
everything should be the same. It just
literally
looks
exactly the same.
Right.
So everything you have with Windows 10 is still going to be there.
Yeah.
It's just
I just didn't know if they updated.
Well,
WSL
in other words, will WSL 3 come with it, and does that include Android app compatibility or something? I'm just making it up, but
exactly.
I don't know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have your work cut out for you, Mr. Thurrott.
Yeah, I'm going on vacation tomorrow.
Where are you going? Going away?
Mexico City.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I'm so happy. But you'll be back for next Thursday?
Yeah, I'm coming back Tuesday.
All right. Hey, let me know how it is. No, of course. But did that change your plans, or did you only plan to go for 5 days?
I only planned it for yeah.
So let me know, because we're going to Oaxaca, as you know. We're going in October.
When is that? October?
Yeah,
we're going to go back with the kids in August, but this is just a quick trip. So
it won't be too hot in Mexico City in July.
It's not going to be hot at all. It's 71 during the day and 56 at night.
Is that because it's high
every day?
Altitude?
Yeah, 7,000 feet.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that high. Wow.
Yep.
Beautiful city. I'm so jealous. I've never been. I can't wait to go.
I can't wait either. I'm dying to go. Yeah.
Oh man, your first big vacay.
I'm going to be a maniac. They're going to have to restrain me on the flight.
What's the COVID situation in Mexico?
No problem getting in. You have to take a COVID test to get out, and so the hotel will arrange that. Or I think you can just do it at the airport when you go home. But
nice. That's a U.S. requirement, not a.
That's a U.S. thing. Yep.
Yeah, we're going to Hawaii next month, and I think we have to get tested before we leave.
That might be changing, by the way. They changed inter-island. Now you can go, and there's no issues.
Oh, good. Be nice. I thought it might. I mean,
I'm hoping by the time we go in August, and by the time you go, and when you say October?
July, October for Mexico, yeah.
I'm hoping this is all over by then.
It should be over. Yeah. California opened up yesterday.
Yeah. So did New York.
Yeah.
New York City.
Who'd have thunk it?
We beat it. We did it, everybody. USA.
except for the 600,000 people who died. But everybody else.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And the rest of the world where it apparently is not so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're kind of ruining the story I'm trying to tell here. But yeah.
Mission accomplished.
That's right. That's right.
Microsoft is having an event tomorrow. What's that all about?
That thing, yes. We have no idea what it's about, because literally, if you go to this page, everything that's in this one line in the notes is all we know. It's about the future of hybrid work.
Right. So you know how they've been doing? Well, they've been doing these events all year this year. What's next for, right? What's next for gaming? What's next for industry? What's next for Windows? Now this is what's next for hybrid work.
Yeah, know, it's interesting. I mean, there is a movement afoot to, I thought, a lot of us thought, oh, when this is over, everybody's going to flood back. It's going to be a party. It's the roaring 20s all over again. And a lot of employees, including many of our own employees, and certainly Apple's employees have written a letter and so forth, don't want to come back. It's like, no, I kind of liked working at home.
Right.
So hybrid is probably the future of work, period.
It is. That's what Microsoft says.
We're going to go through a period where I think different companies are going to struggle to find the right balance. And it's going to vary by, location.
How many days per week?
There was a Times article a couple of days ago about the new quitting.
I saw that.
Everybody's quitting.
A lot of people are quitting their jobs.
Yeah.
Like 10% of the workforce.
Yeah,
or
they
something.
said, why I quit. Why should I keep...
I think everyone got a little wake-up call, Not everyone, but a lot of people. More people maybe should have. But,
life is short,
anyway.
And now's the time.
And what's important. Yeah.
I know. Yep.
Yeah.
But you can guess whatever's next for hybrid work from Microsoft is very focused on Teams, of course, right?
They call it the YOLO economy. You only live once. YOLO.
Right.
It's Microsoft, the future of YOLO work. All right.
No,
they were very... Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say they were very aggressive at the beginning of the pandemic and saying the world's going to change for good. This is not temporary. And, I think it's fair to say, the world's going to change for sure. But it's going to be interesting to see which industries, businesses, et cetera, kind of go back to a more traditional work model and which don't. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
I welcome it. I'm ready to stay home.
I'm against it, and I'll tell you why. I have been working at home for over 25 years, and I have been planning on splitting my time between different locations and working remotely and blah, blah, blah. And you people are all ruining it.
You're spoiling it.
This was my thing, and I am really tired of you all stealing it from me.
Actually, I felt that way for a while about travel, right?
Yeah.
When I first started traveling years ago, you were the lone American. There weren't that many people.
Right.
Now
it's two 22-year-olds with a selfie cam walking around making videos
everywhere.
on YouTube. They're probably making six figures.
Can't get away from them.
They're taking pictures of food and drinks and stuff, and they turned it into a career. And I'm like, excuse me. Come on. It's unbelievable.
Oh, Lord. All right, so we'll, I presume, talk about that maybe next week.
Yeah,
we might be kind of full next week with.
Maybe not.
With other
unless
stuff.
It pertains to Windows. Unless it pertains to Windows 11, right?
Hybrid work event.
Yeah.
Google's coming on after Microsoft, I think, Office.
Yeah, I put this in because I'm curious what you guys think about this and if it means anything to Microsoft or Microsoft customers, right? So Google Workspace is kind of a formalization of the Google services like, Gmail, Calendar, Docs, Sheets, et cetera, into a single package that they can sell to businesses, and it has management functionality, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. I view this as, what they just did was there were specific Gmail, Calendar, Docs, whatever features that only apply to paying Workspace customers, formerly G Suite. And this past week, they announced they're going to make all of those features available to everyone, including the consumers who are just using the free versions. So when I hear that, I think to myself, like, okay, why are they doing this? Like, why, it's not like the benefit, to benefit customers is a ridiculous reason. I mean, why would they ever do this? I actually believe they're doing it because it's simpler for them. Rather than maintaining two versions of the code base for all of these products, they can just maintain one. It's kind of like the Apple approach.
Yeah,
but
it's been a problem for them. It's been a pain point for them that people who have consumer accounts and people who have Workspace accounts, never the twain shall meet.
Right, and actually, I will say, because I do have a Workspace account on my Thurrott.com domain, Google will announce these new features, and I can't use them.
Yes, because
for some reason.
Yes, the consumer features are sometimes better than the Workspace features that you're paying for.
Oftentimes. I mean, when Google Fi first shipped, you could only do it on a Gmail account. That eventually did change, by the way. I don't remember now with the details of all these things, but Google Wi-Fi was like this for a time, and it maybe is or isn't. I don't even know anymore. I mean, but there's a lot of stuff like that, and I still run into this occasionally where you try to sign into something. It's like Stadia. I think is one version. Stadia requires a Gmail account, like a free Gmail account. You can't use it. It's like, I'm paying you. Why wouldn't you let me do this thing? Like, what's the difference?
So, you know why I think they did it? I think they did it because of Teams.
That was where I was heading. Do you think there's a Microsoft angle? Yes, right.
Right, because Microsoft has Teams consumer features that are free, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Google, if you look at what Google and Microsoft are doing, it's like they're trading places, right? Google pushed Microsoft to webify its Office apps. Now Microsoft is pushing Google to rethink how it does all of the G Suite apps because of Teams. And I think Google's in a little bit of a catch-up mode with Microsoft right now on that, right? But because they have Javier Soltero, who came from Microsoft, he knows the playbook. Like, he knows the playbook. He's like, here's what Microsoft's going to do, and here's how we're going to get them. We're going to do it better than them, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Like Canvas, right? Google Smart Canvas. That's fluid framework, right? That is what it is, right?
I think it's a little more expensive, though, than the consumer version of Office, which I pay $7 a month for. I think it's $10 a month.
You have to kind of compare it to the free version of a Microsoft account. In other words, if you just sign up for Hotmail or whatever, well, they don't call it, but Outlook.com, you get that email, .outlook.com. You get access to the online web versions of Word and Excel and all that stuff. You get 7 gigs of storage, I think, for free. I think that's what they're kind of competing with. Like Google, actually, I was going to say Google does not offer a consumer version of Workspace, but actually they're kind of announcing one. It's really for individuals / very small businesses that I think is going to be less expensive, and I think that's going to map more closely to
the individual subscription thing. Or
I think that they didn't say what the pricing was, and it's not available today, but they did allude to it, and I think that's going to be their competitor for the consumer versions of Microsoft 365.
One of the things I thought you'd be interested in, they say this fall they'll be offering a progressive web app for Workspace, which that is, I think, very interesting. Google's really been the primary promoter of PWAs.
I don't remember where I saw this, and it's not in the notes, but Microsoft just announced there's going to be a progressive web app version of OneDrive. Which is kind of interesting. Like that's
OneDrive for business, right? OneDrive for business.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is an the world is moving in towards this cloudy kind of thing, and I think it's very interesting.
They're all kind of aiming for the same goalpost, and
they are. They totally
kind of arrive at different speeds, but it's happening.
Yeah, they're You know what's happening? They're converging on a model,
on the same target.
Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's just that the rounded rectangle is a goofy version of the same thing, right?
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're converging. Now, let's see here. We got let's do a little bit of E3 stuff, and then we can take a break. So, E3 normally an in-person event. Last 2 years it has not been, which I think has taken some of the fun out of it. Microsoft had a stream on Sunday, which I accidentally slept through.
Well, so actually, before we get to that, though, because there were 2 Xbox events in the past week, which is weird, right? One was was that public, the last week event? I don't remember.
No, that was for you guys. That was a press event.
No.
Okay.
Right.
So there was
the press
a private kind of a press event, but then they had announcements around it, right? And that was where they kind of talked strategy. And then Sunday, tied to what would typically be the kickoff for E3, they did their virtual version of their game event, which they called Xbox plus Bethesda. Did you cover it on Twitter?
We kind of did. I was, if I hadn't slept through it, maybe it would have been more coverage. Yeah. We were trying something with the Discord, the Club Tweet Discord, that didn't really work very well. We were hoping to stream that event and then have everybody comment on it, but it was very choppy. The frame rate was very poor. So, not really. So tell me about it.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me that Microsoft did 2 things back to back. One was kind of private, although, like I said, they did come up with announcements. And then one was obviously the public thing, which was just games. And we can talk about that, but it's very standard, typical for E3 kind of thing. Demo, whatever. I've kind of Microsoft's strategy, which as we were starting, before we started the show, I was writing this article, and I kind of went back and looked, and this dates back to, well, actually, technically, it dates back to Xbox One, which was 2013. Satya Nadella coming to Microsoft in 2014. Satya Nadella being convinced to buy Minecraft, I think also in 2014 for $2.5 billion. Microsoft failing with the Xbox One and having to kind of redo their strategy. And what they came up with was the most gamer-centric strategy I think there is in the industry. They were kind of forced into it, but they started working on a lot of compatibility stuff. So you get backward compatibility with previous generation Xbox games. You get Xbox Play Anywhere, where you can play games across PC and Xbox with other gamers, or you have the ability to start a game on Xbox, play it over here on PC, pick up where you left off, go back to the Xbox. They added Xbox Game Pass, whatever year that was. I'd have to look it up, 2017 probably. That eventually expanded both the number of titles, but also to PC. And then they added the ultimate version, xCloud, which became xCloud, Xbox Cloud Gaming, probably forgetting some. But there's been all this stuff. And over time, you see this kind of new strategy where this console is not Xbox anymore, and it's not even at the center of Xbox anymore.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I kind of think of this as Xbox everywhere. That's not something Microsoft ever said, but this kind of harkens back to the NT everywhere strategy from the mid 1990s, early 1990s, which became kind of Windows everywhere. And for this to work, you have to be able to game, literally everywhere or anywhere. And so they announced a bunch of new things, like a new streaming stick, which will be like a something you can plug into a TV or any display and connect an Xbox to it, preferably over an Xbox protocol where you get better performance with the controller. They're adding Xbox to smart TVs this year. They're going to do deals with telecommunications carriers around the world to sell Game Pass to customers, probably at a lower cost. Mary Jo, for some reason, has added a note about a refrigerator coming. Not really sure how that plays into the strategy.
There's no Xbox refrigerator, is there?
No, there is. Actually, there is an
No, there is.
an
It's
Xbox
not a
fridge
joke.
coming.
Well, I saw the phony one they gave to iJustine. That was actually a future product?
There's
it's
a
coming out
real
this year.
mini fridge.
Oh, this was not
Xbox
a mini.
fridge.
This was a Sub-Zero fridge painted
No,
it turns out
Xbox.
Water cooling is not cool enough.
Oh.
No, I don't know what that.
Keep your
So-
Xbox in a fridge. Good idea. Good thinking.
But basically, this was them kind of coming out and saying, hey, Xbox is not this thing anymore. It's this really big thing. And, as a fan of Xbox,
It's a
that's
service,
exciting.
not a it's a platform. It's not a thing.
Yeah, it's a cross-platform set of services for sure. And it's one of the things that's really cool about Xbox, I know there's some of this on other platforms too, but you have this great library of previous generation games that just come forward, So for the Xbox One, you had a bunch of Xbox 360 games, which is fascinating because the hardware architectures of those two platforms are completely different. 360 was PowerPC. The Xbox One is AMD, whatever, X64. I don't remember the name of it, but it's AMD based. The original Xbox was an Intel Celeron, if I'm not mistaken, but whatever it was, like there's some of those games that come forward too. And now that we have the Xbox Series X and S, you can play all that stuff too, including all the Xbox One games. So it all kind of comes forward with you as a gamer, which I think is just awesome and a neat differentiator. But now, what's the final frontier when you think about it from compatibility? It's this Game Pass / cloud gaming stuff, right?
Or
you'll be able to play these games
fridge.
anywhere, or a mini fridge, including the fridge.
Guys, the only thing I care about here is the fridge. I'm just saying.
Right.
This is a joke, right?
No, it's not a joke. It's real.
It looks like a Series X tower.
It's
Right.
for beer. It's
and
for all
it
your
holds
beer.
like 6 cans. It's not huge.
It's your little mini beer fridge.
Yeah, it's just like a dorm room mini fridge.
It is.
Xbox and chill is the new motto. Oh, man. Okay. That's hysterical.
Okay. Now, I need to weigh in on this Xbox segment here.
Oh,
Okay.
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 All right. Because Microsoft kind of tricked me into watching the What's Next for Xbox video part of this thing, which
Yep.
was the event before the Bethesda thing, right? So they were dangling this idea that they were going to talk about the cloud. That's why I tuned in. They're like, Jason Zander's going to be part of it, and we're going to talk about Azure, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so there was like almost nothing about Azure. There was like 5 seconds about, Xbox, the streaming service gaming streaming service runs on Azure, and so do things like Bing Maps and like blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, okay, we know that. Tell me more. Give me some futures. Like, what's next for Xbox on the cloud? And there was nothing. And after I finished I spent an hour watching this video where Microsoft had different executive interviews with different people about the parts of Xbox they were responsible for. And at the end, I'm like, who was this for? Right? Because you know what it felt like to me? And I just am kind of hesitant to say this, but it felt like it was for Wall Street investors who still don't think Microsoft should be investing in gaming, and they were trying to convince them. That's what it felt like.
Well, yeah, I mean, honest. So there's, I don't remember if this was Wired or someplace did some actual interviews with these same guys. Yeah. And Phil Spencer and Satya Nadella told somebody, I'm sorry, I don't remember who, but they told the story about how when Satya, and I kind of glossed over this earlier, but Satya Nadella became CEO, and of course he brings in all the different business unit leads and says, okay, justify yourself, you know. And we know some of the fallout from that. I mean, one of the things that Nadella did was like these businesses needed to justify their existence. Right. Windows Phone couldn't, and he killed it, you know. Yeah. So Phil Spencer came to him and sold him on gaming, and then said, hey, by the way, we want to buy Mojang and Minecraft too. I hope you have an extra $2.5 billion burning a hole in your pocket. And, you know, he agreed to do it. And, you know, when you look at the quote, like I pulled these up for my story about this, like Phil Spencer talks about joy and community, and games and interactive entertainment are about people, not about pixels or hardware and software. Games bring people together. And then, you know, Satya Nadella's like, gaming is fundamentally aligned with our mission as a company, right? And it is. And this is the thing that we've kind of talked about this over the years. I mean, as Microsoft transitions into this kind of cloud computing superpower or whatever you want to call it, you know, gaming is a market where if gaming continued forward, it was like PC games, console games, mobile games, and that was it. I think Microsoft would have gotten rid of Xbox, right? Spun it out, whatever they did.
Yeah. Yep.
But because gaming is moving to the cloud, and I mean that on multiple levels, not just that we're going to stream games from the cloud, but that game makers need cloud services and AI and all this stuff that's like Azure. Phil Spencer, I think, made the case, and obviously won, you know, the day that Xbox, the future of Xbox does align fundamentally with Microsoft as a company. And, oh my God, have they invested in gaming, right? How many gaming studios do they own now?
I know.
You know, it's incredible.
Like 40 or something?
It's way more than any of their console competitors. You know, Sony, I think, owns somewhere around 20.
Yeah.
Or less
That's
than 20.
really interesting.
Yeah.
And
this is night and day from like 2-3 years ago.
So,
And they did say they're putting the new Xbox Series X consoles in data centers, right? So that when you stream...
You're playing on an
super
Xbox.
fast.
That's right. So when you play xCloud or Xbox Cloud Gaming today, no matter what device you're actually using, that thing is streaming from an Xbox One that's in a data center, which is hilarious.
Right.
I assume these things are rack mountable. I'm not sure they do that, but
that's what they should have showed us a picture of. All those Xboxes
I know.
on a
You know,
rack.
because we've seen those those data centers that are all Mac Minis. Like it would have been cool to see one with all Xboxes.
I'm really curious about this strategy. So the Xbox Stick, that's a streamer, right?
Yeah.
Well, the idea you want the games to stream to anywhere, right? So where's it not streaming to today, right? Well, TV is a big one. Yeah. Phones, you know, will get there on iOS through the web, of course. That's a big one, right? But how can we spread this thing? They talk to wireless carriers, like here's another thing you can add to your monthly bill, and for people that don't maybe have a dumb display or they just let's face it, I mean smart TV apps are not necessarily all that great. They also have a latency problem because if you can't use the Xbox protocol, which may not be the right name, but the way that an Xbox controller communicates with an actual console, not Bluetooth, but Xbox protocol, it's a lot more efficient and designed specifically for this purpose.
This is what Google had to do with Stadia. You have
well, actually, see, they did something a little different. They added direct Wi-Fi connectivity with the controller. And Amazon did that with Luna. And by the way, that's a guess I have that Microsoft will have to do that. Yeah. Like you will see a future Xbox controller that does that.
To solve the latency issue.
Yes, right. So the way you can solve it now, well, if you use an Xbox, you don't have to worry about it. If you use a PC, by default, it will connect via Bluetooth, which is not great.
No.
But you can buy a little stick that plugs into a USB port, and that will give you that Xbox protocol, and that will work great. I think that streamer, the little streaming stick that will plug into a TV will be the same thing. It will be a little bit more than that, but it will include that capability, so it will give you the better performance.
You say here that even xCloud that even you'll be able to on this. This actually is very encouraging to me because I cannot get a Series X to save my life. That you'll be able to play these games thanks to Game Pass on an Xbox One. Is that right?
Yeah. So Brad pointed this out to me this morning or last night, I don't remember, but it was kind of buried in a giant. I actually missed it when I first wrote about this because with all this stuff, it's like smart TV integration, new subscription offerings, expansion of Xbox All Access, new streaming devices like the little dongle, market expansion through wireless carriers and also to different countries, on and on. Web browser support, et cetera, et cetera. Xbox Cloud Gaming is moving to Xbox Series X, like we said. So the data centers are going to be full of these new consoles, not the previous generation console. And that means that the quality is going to be higher and you'll benefit from some of those things that you get with an Xbox Series X, like fast resume and all that, or quick resume rather. And you'll see better frame rates, even on existing games, right? So if you're sitting there happily playing, I'll just make it up, Gears 5, which is like a Xbox One game, and they make the switch over, the experience should be better no matter how you're playing, right? So you're going to get that kind of benefit as well. But yeah, so this thing was buried in there. They're bringing the ability to do Xbox Cloud Gaming, which is game streaming, to consoles, including the Xbox One, right? Today, if you have Xbox Game Pass, you have to download a game from Game Pass to play it. In the future, you'll be able to stream it. And then optionally, you're probably going to want to download it for the best experience. But there are games in that catalog that today are not available for streaming. They're just not available for streaming on consoles. This is an interesting way for people with the previous generation console to get Xbox Series X. It's probably not going to be identical, but an Xbox Series X type experience that's not possible otherwise on Xbox One.
Isn't Microsoft worried that this is going to slow sales of the Series X, or maybe because they can't sell it or make it fast enough?
They don't care.
They don't
lose money on it. Who cares?
So ideally, they're going to make it possible for you to play Series X games on anything.
Yes, that's the point.
How good is the quality, though? I mean, what am I giving up?
So I will tell you my experience so far. Well, here's one thing you're giving up. It's not the entire Xbox catalog. So you don't. It is hundreds and hundreds of games. It's actually a really decent catalog. But if you want to play something like Call of Duty, it's not there, right? That's a licensing issue, whatever. It's also probably a technical issue because I don't think those kind of fast-paced first-person games with multiple people in the same arena could possibly play reliably or at any decent frame rate, performance, whatever, through the cloud today. I just don't think it's, they're not designed for that. It's just a technical limitation. So you're going to lose that. But the point here is, you, as an Xbox user or member or whatever you are, you have a choice, and you're going to have a huge amount of choices soon of where and how to play. And if you actually are all in and you own a console, this experience is going to be better for you because you're going to be able to do things you can't do today. But if you want that best experience for certain types of games like Call of Duty or whatever, you can just download the thing to your console, like we've always done.
PC gamers, because that's, I think, still a really important category.
Same thing. So it's coming to the PC. They're bringing Xbox Cloud Gaming to the PC through the web, right? So it'll work in Edge and Chrome. Also to the Mac, by the way, if you have Safari.
That's coming soon.
So same thing. It's the same benefit. And of course I get, on Windows, I'm not sure on the Mac, but on Windows, again, we have that dongle if you want the better performance with a controller. You could also just plug it in, by the way. You could
just do a wired controller. Yeah,
that would work.
But the issue really is going to be network latency. And of course it requires high-speed internet. I mean, really, what's the minimum internet you would think to do this?
I'm not
25
sure.
megabits down?
Yeah, it's going to be something like that. Yeah. But it's, it's like, what you measure your Wi-Fi speed and you have 25 megabits, right? You don't really have 25 megabits, right?
No.
You have some variable that changes over time.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem with Wi-Fi. It's going to be the problem with the game streaming in general, especially if it's a live multiplayer thing. That's going to be a little more out there, I think. But for single player experiences, I mean, I will say the services that do have those kind of new style controllers that have direct Wi-Fi connectivity to the cloud, Luna and Stadia, that experience is better. There's no doubt about it. I mean, those work really well. I think Microsoft might have to move into that, release a controller at some
They must
point.
be planning that
also.
because they've got to know that that's going to be
They have
a
to be.
disadvantage.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right, I want to take a little break because we can go on, and will, in fact, go on about
I
gaming.
could go on at the drop of a hat.
But I do want to mention our fine sponsor for this segment. Sorry, Mary Jo. It's
Guys,
not
I'm just
over yet.
dying over here.
It's
Don't
not
worry.
over yet.
I'm reading beer menus.
Hadoop. Wake up, Hadoop. Our show today brought to you by Udacity. Udacity created almost a decade ago. I joined them in 2012. That's when I first heard about their nano degrees. Udacity is an online education program. You can take part-time at your own schedule to learn the skills you'll need to get a great job in tech. I'm talking the big companies in tech. Udacity offers the latest cutting-edge nano-degree programs. These are designed with industry leaders like Microsoft, like Google, IBM, Amazon, and more. Because these companies have literally experienced the fact that they get graduates who don't have the skills they need. So they want to make sure people are learning these skills. Udacity is the place to get these skills. The latest cutting-edge nano-degree programs, many of which you can't study anywhere else, in topics that are the hot topics in tech these days, like AI, deep learning. They literally have a flying car and autonomous flight engineer track. Intro to self-driving cars, machine learning engineer, robotics software engineer. If any of that excites you, this is the place to be. The instructors are team leads at these top companies, so you're getting taught by the people who are actually using these technologies day to day. Really expert people. But one of the things Udacity does that I think is fantastic is it's very much a hands-on teaching. Yes, when you sign up for a course, you'll watch the videos, but then you'll also be required to do projects. Active learning that covers cutting-edge technology that gives you the actual skills and lets you test your knowledge. So you learn, but then you go and do. And I think they know and these companies know that until you've done that, you're not really ready. Homework and projects are always reviewed by qualified professionals. You get the help you need. In fact, 24/7, you can get mentoring. There's always real human feedback. So it's really the best of both worlds, something you can do online on your schedule, but at the same time get the kind of hands-on teaching that you really want. And their flexible schedule means you can put it in as little as 5 or 10 hours a week, working at your own pace, any time of the day or night. You got a day job, no problem. But in as little as 3 months, you can graduate and get a great job. The World Economic Forum estimates 75 million jobs will be replaced by automated processes within the next 3 years. So maybe now's the time to start thinking about the job of the future. I bet you that's why 14 million people in over 240 countries now use Udacity. You can check out their course list. I promise you, if you look there, there'll be something that will inspire you, excite you, and get you going. Yeah, I want to do this. Flexible payment options. You can learn at your own pace and schedule. There are free courses. Learn how to polish your GitHub portfolio, for instance, or your LinkedIn resume. By the way, if you are a business and you want your team to get those cutting-edge skills like data science or AI or cybersecurity, and I would guess almost any business now really needs to beef up their cybersecurity workforce. With Udacity for Enterprise, you can upskill the entire workforce with real-world project-based learning. So check out the Enterprise section of Udacity's website as well. Now, we got a great deal for you. Get the in-demand tech skills you need to advance your career. And right now, get 75% off any program. 75% when you go to udacity.com/twit and use the code TWIT75. But don't wait. This offer ends June 30th, 2021. You only have a couple of weeks left. Udacity.com/twit. If you go right now or after the show's over and look at the course catalog, I think you'll go, yeah, I want to do this. And right now is the time to do it. 75% off. Offer code TWIT75. Don't forget that. We thank Udacity so much for supporting Windows Weekly. We thank you for supporting us by using that offer code and the address so that they know you saw it here. UDACITY. Udacity.com/twit. Thank you, Udacity. Tell your friends, too. 75% off. That's a great deal for the next couple of weeks. To Mary Jo's deepest chagrin, we shall continue talking about Xbox for a little bit longer. Just a little bit longer.
It's almost over.
It's been such a big week.
It's E3 week. You got to, when Hadoop week happens, we'll listen to you,
All
Mary
right.
Jo.
Okay, that's
When
fair.
H3.
H3, the big Hadoop conference.
Woohoo!
E3 stands for
Hadoop. There, I've said it thrice.
Hadoop. Don't worry, Hadoop will show up if you do
Right,
that.
but I think a witch appears if you say Hadoop 3 times.
No, an elephant does. An elephant.
Yes, right.
E3 was started by my good friend Gina Smith when she was the editor-in-chief of Electronic Entertainment Magazine.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the Electronic Entertainment Expo. Get it? 3 E's.
Yes.
But at the time, it was a little more consumery. Now, is it a consumer show or is it more for business? Who's it for?
No, it's a consumer show.
It's
I mean,
to
they
get
let
people
they let
excited.
people into it.
Yeah.
It's
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 fun.
always been aimed at consumers.
Yeah, it's a fun show. Flight Simulator coming to Xbox. That's exciting.
Yeah, so we knew that was happening. Now we know it's happening next month. That's cool. Looks great. We'll see. There's some unnamed and unknown accessories coming. You can imagine kind of flight sticks and yokes and stuff and pedals and, who knows what else we'll see. But this is going to open this game up, I think, to a lot more people. And who knows, maybe the Xbox version will offer some more casual play.
I get calls periodically from pilots and stuff who want to do it. But it's hard to set up. In fact, I installed it on my Windows machine, and I can't get it to run. And this is a heavy-duty machine. I'm not sure what I did wrong. It's in the App Store, right? You just download it.
Yep.
I bought it. I've been so busy.
Yeah, and it'll be coming to Game Pass as well. So,
oh, nice. I should
Which
just do
is kind of
Game Pass, especially now with this streaming thing, I think.
yeah, I mean, it's just
That's the
interesting.
right way to go.
It's really. Just as a bystander watching this transition is kind of fascinating.
I have pretty good gigabit Ethernet, wired internet. That should be
It should be fine, of course.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too latent.
Shouldn't even need that.
Is
but, yeah.
Microsoft, one of the things Netflix did that was super smart is they put big old Netflix servers in the actual network operation centers of various ISPs. So you were getting the content direct from the ISP instead of over the internet, public internet. I wonder if Microsoft would do that. They need these network centers, though, for this stuff,
Yeah,
don't they?
I agree.
For the rack of Xbox Series X.
I mean, Microsoft has a worldwide
Yeah, they're everywhere.
data center
Yeah.
infrastructure. I mean, they're literally everywhere, but, well, not literally.
But the closer you can get to the end point is better.
yes, yeah, the last mile thing. Yep.
Last
Yeah,
mile.
they should be on a box on a telephone pole.
Yeah,
by the
there
street.
should be an Xbox on my telephone pole.
That's right. This is a series. That's where
not
they're
gonna happen.
That's why you can't buy them. They're all on a telephone pole.
Last year, you and I sat down and watched this same event last year, and we're a little disappointed by Halo Infinite.
More than a little. More than a little. Remember, I made the comparison to the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, where it's in black and white, and then it suddenly becomes like full color. I thought it was
never did
1080p or something. It was going to explode into 4K and be awesome, and it never did.
No.
So this year was a little different. This, I don't know if you saw the Halo demo. I
didn't.
It looks awesome. Like, it looks awesome. I will definitely be playing Halo multiplayer again, and
That was a fun. I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, and once you got past Halo 2, to me it never really evolved all that much, and I kind of lost interest in it. And I play Call of Duty, so what am I talking about? But this just looks awesome. Like, it looks beautiful. So I'm looking forward to this.
Oh yeah, it's really crisp and beautiful. Oh, this will be so much fun.
Yeah.
Is it capture the flag? What is it?
It's all different. That particular thing, I think, was literally a capture the flag mode. But yeah, they're going to have all kinds of different things. I mean, Halo multiplayer is so ingrained into Xbox.
Well, that's the thing.
Literally,
Yeah.
They based the matchmaking system that is common to Xbox Live Gold on the matchmaking system from Halo 2.
Right.
Like, that's where it comes from.
And this is really nostalgic for a lot of people. This is as much about nostalgia as anything else. We're playing our favorite game again.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting about this is obviously Halo. But if you play a modern version of, Doom, right? The Doom game that came out last year, or the year before, whatever it was. I mean, it doesn't resemble, Doom, the original Doom in any way.
This is the same place.
Yeah.
You're on the Ring World. This is it.
That's right.
Yeah, everything looks the same, except it's somehow better.
Super high detailed. Yeah, exactly.
Great specular highlights and great physics. Yeah, it looks good. And all the fun toys. There's the flag, yep.
Yeah, this is something I really miss from Halo, the ability to jump on those little ships and fly around. They had the ones that kind of went right above the ground, but then they had the purple ones that go up in it, like that one, where you're up in the air.
Right.
Yeah, look at the skulls.
It has what's interesting, unlike Call of Duty or Gears of War, it has a little bit more cartoony colors. I think a little influenced maybe by Fortnite. I think a younger generation wants to be a little bit brighter colors, a little bit less gloomy.
It's not so you're right. It's not right. It's not the gritty Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Right.
Look. It's colorful. I like it. I think it looks great. In fact, one of my criticisms of the modern Call of Duty games is they're too dour looking. It's all browns and grays and
Yeah.
And I get it. That's what real life looks like. But I just,
but I'm not there.
It's a video game. We're not playing real life.
That's right. This has to kill Microsoft, this chip shortage, because they just can't sell as many of these as they'd be able to.
But it's in some ways it's kind of good timing because they want to transition people to the cloud. Maybe this will help jumpstart that a little more quickly.
It's like, okay, we got to do it now.
Yeah, like you're stuck on an Xbox One or whatever. Okay, but maybe we can bring some stuff to you now via streaming.
Did we see? This is really the coming out party for the Bethesda acquisition, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember what it was now. A couple months ago, whenever they brought a bunch of Bethesda games to Xbox Game Pass, and then I guess on Sunday they announced 10 more available immediately, like not the latest Doom, but the one that came out before that. I think it was, I don't remember what that was called. It doesn't matter. Evil Within 2, all the Fallouts, Rage, which is another id Software game. It is owned by Bethesda, Wolfenstein 2, et cetera. I mean, they pretty much just plastered the thing. And then they have this incredible list of first party, not just Bethesda, but first party games that are coming to Xbox Game Pass day one this year. And then another incredible list that are coming later than this year that, well, again, day one. And, it's not like, in the old days, like a movie would kind of debut in a theater and it would show up on HBO like 3 years later or something. And then you'd watch it on TV like 8 years later. Video games now and like movies, modern movies come out and they're available at home on the same day that they're in the theater, at least temporarily. You can buy these, new games as they come out, but you can get the first party stuff and some third party stuff too on Xbox Game Pass.
When they say day one, though, a lot of these, like Among Us, has been out for a while. This is day one of their.
These are games that are coming in the future. Yeah,
they're coming. Day one of their coming to the Xbox. Right, because Among Us is out now. Hades is out now.
Oh, right. Oh no, that's true too. But I mean, some are just literally brand new games that are coming out in the future. And day one, when they come out, they're going to be on Game Pass as well.
Age of Empires 4. I'm excited about that. Although I'd really.
Mary Jo asked earlier about the other event. About why, who this audience was. What's the audience for this? Right. And so you're watching this thing. You're like, well, obviously the audience for this part of it is consumers, except not exactly. Right. They also talked about, I mean, it is, but one of the things they talked about was how well Game Pass and or Xbox Cloud Gaming has done for studios, right? Part of this is they're trying to sell this on third-party studios, right? They want the Activisions of the world, the EAs, whoever, to put their stuff on Game Pass on day one, hopefully, but at least put it on there at some point in the future as well. And, one of the big fears with this kind of system is that it triggers like fewer sales of the actual software, which is where they make all their money. I don't know how this breaks down financially, but obviously you sell a game for $60, most of that money or a big chunk of that goes to the developer. when you have a little sliver of money coming in from a Game Pass subscription, like what does it even look like? And what they found is that this works to help gamers experiment with games, and if they really like them, they end up buying them. And it's actually helped to sell games. So even though people
That's
are subscribing to this,
counterintuitive. That's surprising.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's part of the approach here too. They're trying to. I think they're trying to convince the whole industry, as much of it as they can, to jump on this because it's not taking away from anything. It's just, and it doesn't really take any effort on their part to make it happen. They just have to agree to do it. Yeah, nothing. Mary Jo.
Mary Jo's just comatose at this point.
I'm pretty sure what I'm watching is a gif of Mary Jo.
Game Pass.
It's just not. It's just. I'm sorry.
PlayFab.
June update is here.
Yeah. There's not much in the June update. This is a small one. And remember, I talked about the May update whenever that happened. And it's really updates because these things are updates across Xboxes, not just for the console. It's on the mobile app. It's in this case, there's an update for the, what do you call it? The family safety app or Xbox family settings rather. As far as the console is concerned, I'd say the big thing is speech to text and text to speech in party chat. And I believe that's across wherever this party chat is available. So it probably works on mobile as well, but obviously huge for people who are deaf or hard of hearing or those who just don't want to participate vocally, I guess, is they can convert speech. They can type into a keypad or a controller, whatever, and then it will be converted to speech for people who are in party chat. Party chat being a way for people playing in a game together to communicate with each other while they're playing. So that's kind of cool.
Nice.
But not a big deal. I mean, not a big update by any stretch of the imagination. What else is here? And then
indie games.
Yeah, ID at Xbox is the current name for Microsoft's indie game. I don't know, part of the company or whatever. There are now or soon will be available 40 new playable game demos of independent games, meaning that you can download them to your Xbox Series X or S or Xbox One and actually play them. It's not like a video. You can actually play part of the game. And so like 40 of those are coming online as we speak. I mean, some of them were available immediately and the rest will be available before the 21st. And they also announced a list of, 10 or 15 games that are independent games that are now available for purchase. Because they're independent games, I can't really call out one and say this is the one. I don't know anything about any of these games. The titles don't mean anything to me because, they're independent games. It's
In
not
other
like
words,
the next
no
Call of
one's
Duty.
ever heard of them.
Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't say Call of Duty in the beginning, I kind of gloss over it a little bit, but it's...
Battle Cakes, Button City, Death Trash. Yeah, you get the idea.
It's like random name generation,
Justice Sucks Recharged.
Guys, you make fun of
Revenge will be
Hadoop
yours.
as a name. Come on,
I know.
look at these.
I know, it's crazy.
Strings Theory, which I'm guessing is not about physics, but I don't know.
Probably not.
Tank Narok, I like that. Teacup, that's for you, Mary Jo.
It is.
Yeah. The Strange Story of Brian Fisher, Chapter 2.
Brian Fisher. Okay.
There you go.
There you go. And then just to wrap this whole thing up, this is not exactly Xbox related, but Amazon Luna is the game streaming service from those guys. It's been available in early access. It's invite only. You can apply to be invited. But starting June 21st, anyone who is a Prime member can join.
Yay. That's Prime
7-day
Day.
free trial.
That's why.
Yeah. It's $6 a month. I mean, I will say, in my experience so far, the latency between a Luna controller, you can use any controller, but if you have a Luna controller and the service is the best I've seen so far of the streaming services. Like it's really good. The problem is the game catalog is not. Microsoft just announced more new games that are available, right now on Game Pass or Xbox Cloud Gaming than there are on Luna in its entirety. But you should look it over if you're interested in this kind of thing. It's not expensive, super high quality service, and I'm sure this is going to get better over time. But 1080p, 60 frames a second at launch, and then 4K support's coming.
So what would you say is like the big name title they've got? Any?
There isn't any. They don't have any. They don't. It's. Well, it's like Stadia, right? Stadia at least pretended they were going to do some exclusive stuff for a little while, and I don't know if they ever released any exclusive titles.
It's kind of older, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, kind of older stuff, maybe.
I played. It's called A Plague's Tale.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an interactive adventure game. It's great. I mean, it's not a new game. It's in fact, it's coming to Xbox Game. I'm losing track of the names. I'm sorry. Xbox Cloud Streaming. I think it's coming soon, sometime this year. But it's a year or 2 years old. It's not a brand new game.
I'm
but
guessing
it's great.
that they're
it works great.
focusing on things where latency is a little bit less of an issue.
Yeah, for sure. And no, that's true. Yeah, I would have tested the new Doom game, Doom Eternal, but it wasn't at the time. It may be now, but it wasn't available. And I feel like it's a single player experience, but it's a super fast moving action game with lots of moving parts and stuff. And Stadia handled it pretty well. I mean, for the most part, but it's way better on a console. I mean, way better.
And you would say for all of these, the best thing would be get a Wi-Fi controller because.
Yeah, so Amazon Luna and Stadia both support that. So if you're going to adopt one of those services, you want to get the controller. And actually, the Amazon controller is on sale right now, by the way.
So they call it they have a name for it. I think
it's just called the Luna controller.
Right. Cloud Direct though, which is
for the technology, right? Sorry,
but it's basically RF. So it's lower latency. Yeah. Bluetooth is just too low latency.
Well, you're just kind of minimizing the hops, right? I mean, you could go through a device and this one just connects directly, and it seems to work. That was the one thing when Stadia was first, and when they announced that, I was like, oh, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I wonder how that's going to work, and it seems like it works out pretty well.
Yeah, huh? And of course, Amazon owns Twitch, so there's a Twitch integration.
Yeah, and there's also kind of a lower bar for Amazon because most people are going to sign up for Prime anyway. And if you're smart and you're paying for Prime, you should look at all the stuff you get with it. There's a free photo service, which is pretty good. Obviously, Prime Video, this thing, if you want to play. I mean, there's so many perks is kind of a strong word, but there's so many additional digital services that you get just by being a Prime member. I mean, it's worth looking at this stuff.
This is not free, though. You have to pay an additional.
No, this one's not free. But I think if in the future, so right now it's whatever I said, like $5.99 a month. I suspect they will make it available to non-Prime members in the future for like $9.99 a month, right? So it's lower cost. It's kind of like Amazon Music HD or whatever they call that now is lower price for people who have Prime subscriptions.
Mary Jo, your long nightmare has concluded.
We need Epsom salts or something, or
Reviver.
Except, guys, I'm looking at the back of the book and it's not over.
Oh, there's more.
Well,
Paul, that was a sneaky trick. Paul put his extra Xbox stuff in the back of the book. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See what I did there?
Clever. Let's take a
See
little
how
break.
this works?
Yep. Yep. When we come back, the back of the book, and yes, more Xbox, but there'll be some Mary Jo stuff too, including I'm thinking a beer of the week. Yeah.
Yes.
I hope it's an Xbox beer.
It's grim.
It's very grim after this
so
episode.
it's more Call of Duty than Halo.
Yeah, right. It's a grim beer. Our show today brought to you by Bandwidth. Of course, you said it. Yeah, well, how else would you get to me? Bandwidth, but I'm not talking about lowercase b, bandwidth. I'm talking about capital B, bandwidth. Bandwidth's a company. In fact, they are the first cloud-native carrier, phone carrier. And that's really what you should be thinking about if you're thinking about direct routing for Teams. Bandwidth provides accurate 911 caller information for Microsoft Teams users, helps you maintain compliance with admittedly complicated E911 regulations during your migration. You want to take a look at Bandwidth Duet for Teams. Moving to Microsoft Teams can be complicated, especially if you want direct routing, but Bandwidth Duet for Microsoft Teams empowers you with software-driven SIP, dynamic E911, and industry-leading expertise to simplify your move. For instance, you know about Ray Baum's Act. That requires, this is a federal law that requires a dispatchable location, not just the street address, but additional data like floor, suite, room. Bandwidth's E911 does that. It lets you capture precise location information at call time. That's kind of vital. Of course, it's it's a requirement, regulatory requirement, but also it's vital for the safety of your team and your organization. Duet leverages dynamic location capabilities within Microsoft Teams to identify a user's location at the time of the call. It natively routes those 911 calls across bandwidth secure, highly reliable nationwide network to solve compliance concerns and ensure employee safety. If you're thinking about direct routing, your migration will be so much simpler with Bandwidth Duet from Microsoft Teams. Greater control and value by helping you decouple your telephony from Teams. And by the way, you're going to save 40% over Microsoft's calling plans. Let me tell you who works with Bandwidth. Everybody. Google works with Bandwidth. Zoom works with Bandwidth. I don't mean works with, I mean they use Bandwidth. Genesis, Ring Central. We've used Ring Central for the last 2 studios. We've been using Bandwidth all this time. With Bandwidth's unlimited 933 testing capabilities, you can verify that location information is meeting compliance standards without burdening public safety with actual 911 calls. You dial 933 instead. You'll have a migration partner, not just a provider. They really, and I know everybody says this, but it's absolutely sincere in this case, care about you and want to work with you. I'll give you an example. You will get immediately a dedicated onboarding specialist who can go through your project plan, help you execute it. You'll get a 24/7 network operations center, NOC, that is there to make sure that you are always there. You'll have expert support teams who can accelerate your migration. And the thing is, they're going to be with you every step of the way, from planning to execution to cleanup afterwards. Group your users into logical cohorts like location and department, and then schedule and trigger ports for those individual groups. You can even seamlessly roll back if you have to. That's nice. Instead of just flipping the switch for everybody and having it fail, that's nice. You can do it bit by bit and make sure everything's working right. And I know everybody says they have great support. Bandwidth really has it. They're easy to work with. White glove customer support with a 9.8 customer satisfaction rating. That's pretty darn good. They're uniquely positioned to help your enterprise migrate with less frustration. And of course, and this is absolutely something you got to remember, meet regulatory requirements, no matter where you are. Simplify your telecom migration. Solve for regulatory requirements with a single cloud-native carrier. Bandwidth was there first, and they're still there. Get your proof of concept at bandwidth.com/WW. I know you could go straight to Bandwidth, but please use that address so they know you saw it here. Bandwidth.com/WW. It helps Windows Weekly. And we thank you for listening, and we thank Bandwidth for their support. Bandwidth.com/WW. Now, part 3 of our Xbox report.
Part 4, actually.
Kill me now.
Well, Mary Jo, here's the good news. I'm going to do this in less than 30 seconds. This is super
All
fast.
right, here we go. I'm timing you. Ready? Let's go.
All right. Last week, my tip was the Xbox Deals Unlocked sale with prices up to 75% off on select games from Xbox Game Studios and 55% off on over 200 digital games. That's still ongoing. It ends tomorrow, so that's the 17th. I just wanted to bring that up again because the last time we talked, I think it hadn't started yet, so it's still happening. I just want to make sure you don't forget that.
Don't miss out.
I won't.
Okay.
Thank goodness we're done with the Xbox stuff.
So hold on. So the app pick of the week is Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. This is the one that's $14.95 a month and $19.99 a month. But this is the future of video games. You can get 3 months for $1 now.
Oh wow!
Give it a shot and just
maybe I'll do that.
Just try it. 3 months. Yeah, $1. You know.
I had gold, but now this is, I think, the way to go. You get gold.
Just give it a shot and see. You never know. It's the library has improved dramatically.
Good.
So how did I do, Mary Jo?
Good. There we go.
Okay.
Can't every Xbox segment be 30 seconds?
And now the moment you've all been waiting for, or at least Mary Jo's been waiting for, our Enterprise Pick of the Week.
We have 2 because I'm just that kind of person.
You've earned it.
I've earned it. First one is back in April when Microsoft unveiled Surface Laptop 4. They also unveiled a whole bunch of peripherals that I thought were as interesting as the laptop. They had a new USB headset, a wireless headset, a webcam. Yeah. Remember that? Mm-hmm. The USB-C speaker and Surface headphones 2 Plus. So none of those actually became available until this week. So it's taken a little while.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, it's taken a little while, but now they are all available to order. And these run the whole gamut of $50 for the USB headset to $300 for the new Surface headphones for business customers. What's interesting to me about a lot of these peripherals are they're certified for Teams, right? So if you're somebody who wants a headset for work where you can take calls or triage calls and you want an over the ear kind of design and all, these could be very nice peripherals for you. They're kind of middle of the road expensive. They have like a good set of services and connectors and operating system support even like the wireless headset supports Windows 7, Windows 8, Mac OS, Android, iOS. So yeah, they're worth checking out. They're all available. I don't know if they're available in every country. Probably not because it's Microsoft, but available in many countries for purchase as of this week.
Have you used any of these at all?
No, and you know what? When they offered me a Surface Laptop 4 for review, and I turned it down because I said it's basically Laptop 3, right, with better specs,
Which you use
and
already.
I said, yeah, and I'm like, but you know what? I want to test. I want to test those peripherals. Like, I want to try out the webcam, and I want to try out the headset. And they're like, no.
Well,
Yeah,
Mary
but I didn't
Jo,
take the
do you
laptop.
use Teams? If you use Teams, maybe.
I know. I'm like, wait, if I don't take the laptop, I can't try any of the peripherals.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I don't know how they are, but I think some of them look kind of nice.
Yeah.
I need a new headset, so
They're
I'm
very
like, maybe I'll
businessy
look at it.
looking.
Very businessy looking.
You
Yeah,
know, like flat matte black kind of.
pretty much.
Yeah. Stealth.
Yeah.
And pick number 2.
Yeah. So Microsoft has a product. Their security products have so many name changes; it's a little bit hard to keep up. There's a product called Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. It used to be called Defender ATP. So this is a security product that also extends to Android and iOS. The reason I made this the pick of the week is Microsoft is adding some new security features to Endpoint. And a couple of them worth calling out, I thought, for business customers who have Defender for Endpoint. For iOS devices, this new version can now detect if something has been jailbroken on your iOS device, which is kind of handy. If you have a fleet of phones in your corporation, you're like, have any of these actually been jailbroken? And if they have, it sends an alert when it happens to Microsoft Defender. On the Android side, there's now Microsoft Tunnel VPN inside of Defender for Endpoint, the application. So a lot of people who wanted VPN technology, especially during the work from home period, hybrid work, as we call it here on Windows Weekly, you may also be interested in that Defender for Endpoint for Android version that's now available.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go. I'm ready for something grim.
Very grim.
Grim.
So Grimm is the name of a brewery in Brooklyn. I've made some of their beers the pick before. So the theme of today's beer pick is beers that are made to taste like cocktails.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm down,
Because
man. I'm down.
These do exist. So this beer called the Grimm Clover Club, and yes, it is named after the cocktail bearing that name. It's a Berliner Weiss, very light. 3%, one of the lightest ABVs of any beer I've ever made the beer pick.
Look at it. It looks like Kool-Aid.
It does. It's bright red because it's fermented on raspberries and juniper berries and orange peel.
Oh.
And man,
no wonder it tastes like a cocktail.
if you did not know what this was and you gave this to someone, they would never guess this was a beer. They would definitely think it was a cocktail.
Yeah.
I even thought, I wonder if you could add gin to this. Would that be super weird? Because it tastes like an amazing cocktail mixer. It smells great. It looks great. It tastes great. It just does not taste like a beer at all to me. Like if you just handed it to me, I wouldn't know it was a beer.
Wow.
but it's classified as a Berliner Weiss and a sour. Some people call it fruited sour because it's aged on fruit, but it's very, very delightful, very light.
Looks great for a hot day, boy.
I know. I bet there are a lot more. I'm going to start looking into this more because I think there are a lot of beers that people are kind of making after cocktails, not just in name, but also in the way they make them and the ingredients of them. And I think if you've got friends who say, I don't really like beer, especially craft beer, and you gave them this, it might change their mind.
What if we added a bunch of sugar to it? Would you like it that?
Exactly. What if we gave you something with juniper berries and orange peel?
Wow.
Wouldn't that be delicious?
I might like that, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
It tastes really good. I was stunned how good it was. I was a little skeptical. I was like, I don't know. But
This is how you're going to get me back into beer. I can already tell where this is going.
Yeah.
I think you would really like this. I bet Stephanie would love this too because she's all into making cocktails. So, yeah.
Yep.
Do they have a peanut butter flavored one?
Not
I'm
yet,
sure
but they will.
There are lots of peanut butter flavored stouts out there.
How fun. Well,
it was
that wraps this up. Next week, it's going to be a little different. We're going to do the show on Thursday, not Wednesday, because we'd like to follow Microsoft Windows 11 announcement. Right. Panos Panay will join us on stage at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. So Paul, Mary Jo, and I will be there for that. And the nice thing about it is Panos cannot steal your laptop, Paul.
I know. That's good.
Can't reach through the Teams and get your laptop. And then afterwards, we'll do the show. So join us Thursday. Normally we do Windows Weekly on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. Watch us do it live if you wish at twit.tv/live. If you're watching live, chat at irc.twit.tv. That's the best place to do that. On-demand versions of the show available at twit.tv/WW. There's audio and there's video, or you can watch on YouTube. There's a Windows Weekly YouTube channel. Probably the best way to get it, subscribe in your favorite podcast client. We have, RSS links you can paste in there, or actually, I think if you search for Windows Weekly, there are very few podcast clients that don't have Windows Weekly in there. And in fact, if they have a review section, if you'd leave us a 5-star review, that would be sweet. That would be really nice. We'd appreciate it. Club Twit members can also get copies of the show, and they have a little bit of a different slice because for $7 a month, you get ad-free versions, audio or video of every show we do. No ads at all. Even this little ad for Club Twit will be cut out. You can also be a part of our fabulous Discord server, which has been a lot of fun. I know Mary Jo's in there, and it's a really great place to chat. There's a beer section, not just about tech stuff. There's all sorts of stuff. And there's a Twit Plus feed with material that did not make it to the podcasts of all kinds. In fact, it's a launch / soft launch, a renaming our Twit Bits feed, which is a YouTube feed, at youtube.com/twit is going to be renamed Tech Break because it's not just going to be highlights of other shows, which it has been up to now, but it'll also include breaking news. The team wanted to just say, hey, something's happening. We want to get on right now, and so that's what we're going to do. So I don't know if we're going to make a feed for that, but it's certainly at youtube.com/twit. Tech Break is the new name, and that you'll understand. When tech news breaks, we're there breaking it.
We're there to pick up the pieces.
Pick up the pieces. Paul Thurrott's at Thurrott.com. That's his blog. His book, The Field Guide to Windows 10, is available at leanpub.com. You're going to do a Windows 11 book, Paul?
So I knew you were going to ask me that. Yeah, probably.
You're kind of stuck.
Ooh, he'll never learn. This guy will never learn.
He's a glutton for punishment. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Mary Jo Foley, she says it's enough just to write it out in Notepad and let the world see it at allaboutmicrosoft.com.
But now she could at least do it with rounded rectangles.
Rounded rectangles. Now,
exactly.
with rounded rectangles. The ZDNet blog. And together they are the dynamic duo of Windows Reportage every Wednesday, except for next week when it'll be on Thursday. Thanks, Paul. Have a great time in Mexico City.
Thank you.
I know.
I can't wait.
You're leaving tomorrow, huh?
Yep.
Any particular
awesome.
plans?
This is just kind of a scouting trip in some ways because we're going back for a longer period of time with the kids. But
the Zocalo, of course.
This has been weird because I've spent so much time researching this and I feel like I'm going to get there and be like, yeah, that's what that looks like. Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah.
I've seen it all on Wikipedia. Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of taco eating, I can tell you that.
That's what I would go for. Go for the food.
Nice.
But it's a wonderful, warm place, I hear, and it's great. You know, Mike Elgin and Amira go there. They've done events there. In fact, that's who we're going to Oaxaca with in October.
Nice.
And they just love Mexico City. So I think you're going to have a great time.
And I can't wait.
Mary Jo Foley will be just down to her local for the next week and finding another cocktail-flavored beer. Uh-huh. The search is half the fun.
More than half.
3/4 of it. Stay
the journey
cool.
is the reward.
Enjoy the beautiful weather on the East Coast. And we will see you next Thursday on Windows Weekly. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you are interested in checking out all things smart home and Internet of Things, then you should check out Smart Tech Today, the podcast I, Micah Sargent, do with my co-host Matthew Casanelli. It's all about the smart home and improving your automations.